Hello everybody and welcome to The Tube. Lately we've been talking a lot about robots here at The Tube, and ever since Google bought Boston Dynamics, it's clear that robots are coming to your homes very soon. That's why we are happy to host in a two-part special the organizers of Robots in Human Society, part of the DLD convention and the Utopia Festival held in Tel Aviv, which is an annual mini-symposium to discuss the ramifications of robotics from a social point of view. There is a lot to talk about, so let's start. With me in the studio are Dan Halperin, Professor of Computer Science at Tel Aviv University, Guy Hoffman, IDC Media Innovation Lab Co-Director, and Lior Zalmanson, Print Screen Festival Founder and Director. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Lior, first question. Why is it important that we talk about robots and human society?
Because even though that robots, like you said, are going to be everywhere, you know, helping with the elderly, with the children in work, it still seems that they are in the hands of the technologists. And people from the humanities, people from the social sciences do not invest enough time in thinking about the ethical consideration or the social consideration, maybe because it's technology and they seem, you know, not so, maybe they're a bit averse to technology issues. So we want to make it closer, one step closer, and actually have a meeting of the minds of both the technology world and the humanities and the social sciences. So then I hope we can create much more ethical and much more interesting talks that will lead to, I would hope, that more thoughtful developments.
Let's talk a little bit about ethics. Dan, are people who build robots need to address philosophical, cultural, ethical questions? Are they doing it?
They should be aware at least of these issues, and that's one of the motivations to put up this mini symposium. Technologists, programmers, computer scientists, roboticists are gaining more and more power in the modern world, and I think it is important that technologists will be aware of the social implications of what they are doing. And surprisingly, contrary to the typical image of computer science and robotics people, many students and technologists are interested in these implications, and then that's why there's such response to these mini symposia. And in each one of the symposia held so far, we had as a keynote speaker a famous roboticist, engineer or computer scientist that over the years developed consciousness and awareness to social issues, ethical issues, philosophical issues, and it's interesting to see in these keynote talks that they bring both aspects, the technology on one hand and the social implications on the other.
Hey, I obviously have a lot to ask you, but before I'm going to ask you a question, I want us to share. I want to share with our viewers a short clip from Guy Hoffman's excellent TEDx talk that went viral with almost 1.5 million views. That's a lot. You should really watch the whole thing. We'll put it on our Tumblr, but take a look at a little segment we brought for you.
I wanted it to be less of a mechanical structure giving me light and more of a helpful, kind of quiet apprentice that's always there when you need it and doesn't really interfere. And when, for example, I'm looking for a battery that I can't find, in a subtle way, it'll show me where the battery is. So you can see my confusion here. I'm not an actor. And I want you to notice how the same mechanical structure can, at one point, just by the way it moves, seem gentle and caring, and in the other case, seem violent and confrontational. And it's the same structure, just the motion is different.
You want to know something? Well, you want to know something? He was already dead. Just lay there, eyes glazed over.
Guy, well, you know, the first question that came to my mind after seeing it for the third time today, this lecture, what's your emotional relationship with these robots? I mean, do you love them? Do you have human feelings towards them?
I think it depends if it's while you're working on them or when you actually see them in action. And I think when you work on them, you're very much immersed in the technological questions and in the little features and bugs that you have to fix and the problems that you have with the technology. But when you turn it on, in the end, it starts moving. I think even what we found a lot of times, that even as someone who knows exactly what's going on behind the scenes, you can't help but respond to it in an emotional way. Because even though you know exactly how you made it happen, as soon as these things move on their own, you have this instinctive emotional response that I found that the other students who were working with me on these projects and myself couldn't help but connect to.
Because the robots you do, at least what we see in the TEDx video, are not functional robots. They're soulful robots for fun and groove.
A lot of my research is about the expression of the robot and how they move and what their movement makes people feel and think. So some of these robots do have functional roles, but a lot of them are really just there to demonstrate the idea of non-verbal communication, of how these robots use their body to express what's going on inside of them. And this is not, I would actually argue with you and say that this is as functional as what they actually have to do, because the way that you communicate your internal intentions and beliefs using your body is part of the functional dialogue. And I think this is something that more and more robotics is now opening up to, the idea that the interaction is a big part of how these robots should function.
Because lots of people find robots a bit creepy. I mean, how do you create a robot that people react to it in an engaging way and are not freaked out of it?
That's a tough question. Most of the robots that I've been working with over the years were industrial robots. And I must say that even to industrial robots, you can develop some sort of feeling. I worked in an automotive factory in Germany, and I gave instructions to the robot. And at some point, there was a big car chassis that weighed several hundred kilos. And I made a big mistake, but it just made the hand of the road move a little, and it simply, the car flew away 2 meters. Now it was pretty scary, and you immediately think that this is the devil. The robot in front of you has some
power and evilness.
Yes, and even from these industrial robots, way before people started thinking about soft and human-like and engaging robots, I and the people around me felt that this is someone who has power of its own. Even though I gave the instructions indirectly through the programming to the robot to do that. One of Guy's expertise is really this issue of how to build robots that are more acceptable for humans.
What do you think, Leo?
I think, first of all, there's a phenomenon called the uncanny valley. It means that if we get robots to look very familiar, in a sense they look like humans, but not exactly as a human copy, then we feel like a sort of a feeling of disgust, maybe fear towards them. And that's something that roboticists have experienced in different kind of design, that if you take a look in how robots look these days, they are not exactly, most of the developments are not exactly human-like, because it's actually causes a weird effect on people. And the reason for that, by the way, there's a lot of explanations. One of the reasons is actually evolutionary, because we think the robots...
We're now seeing Atlas on screen.
Oh, we're seeing Atlas.
We're seeing Atlas,
so
which
Atlas
is kind
actually
of human,
is kind of human, but if you look carefully, you will see that the most important maybe human feature, which is the face, is kind of lacking and non-existent. This is like robots like the Transformers kind of robots that we're used to look,
Is that supposed not to freak me out?
That's actually
That's freaky.
that's freaky, but I would have to say this is, you don't sense it's human in any way. It's freaky because it looks like a thing that could kill you, could destroy you.
But I think the question is not why am I freaked out, but do I really have a reason to be freaked out, or is it just sci-fi movies who washed my mind, or there's an actual danger of a future, near future, filled with robots? Guy.
I think there's a promise of a near future full with robots. I don't think that's a danger, but what I wanted to respond here is that in the end it's about our instincts as humans. And I think one of the reasons that we believe that robots affect us in this way is that we can't help but see something move on its own and immediately feel that it wants to move, that it has its own intentions. And I think that's just the way that our brains work. It says more about us than it says about the robots. In the same way with Atlas, when you see this 20-kilo ball hitting it, people feel sorry for it. They know it's just a machine, but there's something that I think has nothing to do with science fiction, but it has to do with the way that we respond to things moving on their own, that we can't help but attribute some sort of intention to them.
We program the robots, but the robots could program us because they can make emotional manipulations on us that
Is
are
it a
effective.
manipulation they
It
make
could
to
be.
manipulate?
Maybe manipulation is insisting of some kind of intention,
Okay.
and the intention could only be now referred to the programmer of that robot specifically, but they could do something like, for instance, I now have a cleaning robot, and I have to say, even though I know he's very much an algorithm and it's like he has a fixed course, I look at him like as a new pet, and I'm like, he's making a cute move, I'm looking and I'm trying to figure out what we will do next,
And I'm sure it doesn't even look.
It doesn't
it's
even
not
look
designed to look
human,
cute. We have to move
exactly.
on for a little video. There's one specific tech giant working on a project that will bring us closer to a future where there's a robot in, well, every home. Intel's Jimmy, the 3D printed robot that can be programmed and customized by every user to his desire and needs. Watch him and, well, be amazed.
Imagining robots. That's the first thing. You've got to imagine who your robot is. What's your robot's name? What do you want your robot to do? And then designing, building, and programming and sharing those robots.
So this is a blank canvas. What this does is it allows users in the community, in the maker community, or maybe even further, to create their own designs based on this. If you don't like the head of this design, you can change it. And when you change it, the idea is that you give that back to the community. This robot is really an expensive toy if you don't have some sort of software wrapped around it. And so you can use this software to create the robot movement and actions that you want it to create. So there are multiple uses out there. It's not just one design fits all.
Cute. I don't know, because okay, so these type of robots, will they eliminate the fear that robots are here to, I don't know, kill us?
I think, first of all, you have to distinguish between demos and short videos and
the actual thing?
and the actual robots that are around. I think some of the videos are futuristic. Even if you see a robot moving in the lab, it doesn't mean that it will be there tomorrow in every home. In this very format, you may have your cleaning robot at home, but it does very limited set of tasks. I think that part of our fascination comes from all those talks and TV shows, but the technology progresses a bit slower in terms of mass production and availability
I'm not
of
interested
robots.
in if it's going to be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. I'm interested on how the future is going to look like. I mean, when I saw your lecture, I mean, the thing that really blew my mind was when he played music with you. Because music is considered a soulful thing. It's a form of art that is what differs, in my opinion, humans and machines. But when I saw it, and I know it's not the first time that you know, a computer makes music or something that's considered artistic, but that's what blurs the lines for me.
I think it's music is just one skill. I think we have this tendency that whatever machines can't do, we think is the most soulful thing and the most human thing. Before computers played chess, we thought chess was like the most human thing to do, and only you have to be human to figure out how to play chess. And I think we shouldn't be so fixed on certain things that we think are human. I think music is just one more human activity, and now there's other things that robots can't do.
But robots have something, I mean, soul is maybe a big word, but do they have, I don't know, a specific, do they have character? Do they have, I
I actually want to challenge something else you said about the dangers of robots. I think the
Okay.
dangers of robots are not that they're going to kill us. I think we made enough things that kill us. We don't need to worry about other things. You know, we have cars, we have wars, we have disease. I think the danger, if any, with robots is how they're going to function within our economy, and at what point a boss will decide that they don't need to hire 3 people when a machine can do it.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about in part 2 of our show. That's going to be aired tomorrow. So thank you very much for being here for part 1. They're going to be here for part 2, I promise. Log on to our Twitter and our Tumblr. We're going to put links on all the stuff we talked about on our Tumblr. We'll see you tomorrow, part 2 of the Robotics Special. Thank you again. Good night.